What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Crunch Time here on a Sunday morning. I am Britt Devine, joined by Mr. Agents of Fandom, TJ. We got Tasteful Tides, Tim here today. Tim, what's going on? It's been a little bit since I've done a show with you. How's everything going?
Oh, I'm doing well, Brett. Yeah, it's been a long time. I don't think we've done a show, I think, since football. I think this is our first baseball show we've done. So yeah, it's nice to see you. Nice to see TJ as always. It's turned into a little bit of a regular Sunday thing. Yeah, but this is a really amazing slate, so I'm excited to break it down with you guys.
Yeah, TJ, what's going on with you today? Anything different from yesterday?
I'm just still a little tired. These Sunday slates, I hate when they start this early. I like when we get it at maybe like the 3 Eastern, something like that instead. But it's 10 a.m. for me right now. I got up real early to write the expert survey, went back to sleep for a little while, and now I'm ready to talk some baseball.
Yeah, hopefully you'll have some Spidey bombs. Click the like button, everybody. Get up to, what do you say, 40 for the first one, TJ?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it. 40 likes for that first one.
40 likes for the first Spidey bomb. I got a bet. I actually, the lines moved quite a bit on a money line bet. I'll give it to you too at some point during the show. But I guess, so we didn't have it. I had trouble finding our little room here today. Who wants to help talk cash games with me a little bit today? One of you can handle tournaments. Who wants to step up to the plate? Tim?
I can do cash games, Brett. I can do cash.
All right. Yeah. Tim and I are gonna go back and forth, and TJ is gonna handle some tournament takes. Pitching today, so it's Kevin Gausman at the top. It's everybody else reasonably far behind, in my opinion, today. The dude's lights out, huge strikeout potential against Minnesota today. If you're paying up, if you're going to play Peralta against Oakland, I know it's Oakland, but I'm going to find ways to get to Gausman, at least on Fanduel. Even on DraftKings, I'm playing Gausman for sure up at the top. He's my guy today. Do you see any reason for him to not be the overall top play of the day?
Yeah, Kevin Gausman is clearly the cash game option on FanDuel. Freddie Peralta is, he's okay. Shane McClanahan, he's all right too. But I see no reason on either site to kind of goof around with your SP1 today. I see absolutely no reason in cash games to punt at all. But Kevin Gausman is the clear number one.
Yeah, he's for me too. I'm playing him on both FanDuel and DraftKings for my cash team. So let's go over to DraftKings where you've got to play 2 pitchers. It's a little more interesting there. I'm definitely Gausman 11-4. I'm paying that price tag, especially when McClanahan's 11-2 against Texas. I'm going to take the guy against Minnesota who's at home and has a big strikeout rate against righties. So I'm going over there. If you're going SP2, Peralta does look pretty nice as an SP2 on DraftKings because he's 8,800, right? On FanDuel, they're pretty close in price, but there's a big price difference over there. So at 8,800, I think he's pretty interesting. I'm big on the Reds today. That is my money line bet. I wrote it up at Scores and Odds. I could not believe it was plus 125 when it opened yesterday. It's about even money right now. Adam Wainwright is trash. I don't care what the bat says. I'm not playing Adam Wainwright today. But I like Hunter Green too. So between Peralta and Green's, probably you need someone in that mid-tier pitching range because Gausman's so expensive. If you want any semblance of reasonably high-priced batters today, you have to go to the mid-tier today. So who do you have between those two?
Yeah, so for those of you that have seen me on shows before, they know that I play cash games on DraftKings, and then I also play single entries. Sometimes I play the same team in both. Mm-hmm. Today it's going to be Peralta for me in cash, but then I'm going to go Hunter Green in my single entry GPP team, just because Hunter Green in cash games is terrifying. Like, obviously, he's an extremely talented pitcher, extremely high K rate. I think he's got a pretty good matchup against St. Louis today. I just feel like Peralta is, quote, safer, which is what I want in cash games. Mm-hmm. So I'm willing to pay the extra $800 for cash games, but in single entry GPPs, I'm playing Hunter Green. So it's really like a kind of a coin flip between those two. But I do think Peralta's safer. I'm willing to pay the $800 more, but I think Hunter Green's got a way bigger ceiling, and so I'm going to chase that ceiling in my single entry team.
Yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely 100%. I love Green. I love the Reds today. And I'm very down on Wainwright. I call the Cardinals, they won't do Wainwright dirty because he's been with them for so long, but to me, he looks statistically like he's the next Alex Manoah, if you ask me. So on his way out of the league, I think this might be his last season as a Major League Baseball pitcher. TJ, we're 5 likes away from Spidey Bomb #1. Let the people get that. In the meantime, what are your takes on pitching overall today? Can you have too much Kevin Gausman?
You can't, because I hope not, because I'm going to be having 100% on both sites. I just think he is by far the top pitcher today. He's been absolutely lights out. Minnesota's lineup is a shell of itself. From a strikeout rate perspective, there's just nobody really on his level for this one. And so I think I'd have 100% Gausman on both sites. Definitely on DraftKings, where you have to play 2 pitchers. On Fanduel, maybe not. He's the only guy up expensive. I don't think I'd be messing around with any of the other 10K guys. I would just go all the way up to him. But I'd maybe messing around with trying a couple cheap things if I was running a ton of lineups over on FanDuel, just to get a little bit of differentiation in there. But really, it's just Kevin Gausman by a mile for me today as my top overall guy. And then in terms of SP2s for tournaments, like Peralta, I would probably want to get a little bit underweight on in tournaments, but I do agree that he is the top cash game option as an SP2. I love the Hunter Green call as a potential SP2. And I think JP Sears is super interesting for tournaments. Milwaukee's not that strong of a lineup. They strike out. JP Sears is probably the best pitcher in that Oakland order. He's nothing phenomenal, but the dude can strike people out. And so he's going very low owned. I think JP Sears is interesting on both sites, actually.
Yeah. Anyone else? A couple other guys. I think Giolito is interesting for tournaments. Mitch Keller, talk about you have one bad performance against the A's and nobody wants to roster you. Do you think he can have anyone on Keller against the Mets? The Mets just don't strike out enough. But can Keller? I mean, everyone soured on him after that last game. Does he make an interesting option from the bounce back perspective?
Yeah, I still think he's an interesting tournament play. If I'm playing like 3 lineups or something, I don't think I get to him, but anything 10, 20 or more, I definitely would want to include him in the pool, and I'd be very interested in going to him for tournaments in a bounce back spot.
And then Tim,
I actually think Adam Wainwright is interesting just as a punt. Like, I'm not saying that you're wrong, Brett. I'm not saying he's not terrible, but he's 5,300.
I understand it from the salary perspective, but
yeah. I mean, that's all it is. I'm not disagreeing with you that he is on his way out. But if you want to load up on some of these high-end teams that we'll get to, there's some really, really expensive bats that are in some amazing spots. So if you want to go like Gausman, Wainwright, and just hope that, somehow he, gets you 15 points, like, I think you're golden. So I think that if I'm making, 10 or more teams, I'm going to have a couple Wainwright just because he's so darn cheap.
It's better than Wainwright's negative score, 0 from someone not playing, or pick an opener and hopefully they go an inning with a couple of strikeouts. I'm very anti Adam Wainwright today. I'm all in on the Reds and Hunter Green, at least from a betting perspective. And I love your call, Hunter Green in GPPs, Peralta, and cash for your SP2. TJ, Spidey Bomb #1's ready. Who we betting today?
All right, Spidey Bomb #1 with the trend, of sticking with these Reds that you guys were just talking about. We're going to go with Elly De La Cruz, plus 600 on FanDuel to hit a home run against Wainwright. Elly De La Cruz is Spidey Bomb #1.
I can't believe they're giving us plus 600 on that. That seems like that's going on.
That's a pretty good number.
Yeah, we're going on. I'm logging on to FanDuel, our sponsor. And by the way, thank you to FanDuel for sponsoring the show. If you are in a sports betting state and you're a new customer, you can get a no sweat first bet up to $2,500 in bonus bets. Read the terms and conditions. Make sure to check out FanDuel if you are in a sports betting state. Check out that offer. Very nice of them to offer it. I'm trying to talk as long as possible while I get this plus 600 before everybody else changes the odds on me. What about, I guess, TJ, I'm going to go to you for offense, because this is a big slate on a Sunday morning. We've got the Braves with a huge total. The problem is Ronald Acuna, very expensive. And if you're playing him with Matt Olson and Austin Riley,
What did you do last night, by the way? Did you keep him in there? Because I'm assuming if you kept him in, you cashed, and if you didn't,
I
you
did.
covered it.
I definitely had Ronald Acuna last night.
Good, because if you took my advice, you probably weren't cashing yesterday on that one.
I'm trying to get Acuna onto my teams again today. It's just a lot harder because I'm paying for Gaussman, so I'm having a little bit of trouble. But I think on FanDuel is very tough. DraftKings, I think I figured out a way to make it work. But what are we doing with if you take the Braves, right? You can't really have you can have a 10, 11K pitcher. You got to play Adam Wainwright though. So we know my feelings on that. Tim will disagree with me. How are you trying to mix in the Braves? And then what are some other offenses you're looking at today?
So for me in tournaments, it's tough too, right? Because we have on FanDuel, we have Coors. On DraftKings, there's no Coors. On FanDuel, we do have Coors. And so obviously the Padres are going to project as the top team over there. I do think the Braves make for a very interesting team over on FanDuel, where they maybe won't have the same type of chalk they do on DraftKings because of San Diego. But I will say on FanDuel, we're currently projecting them to be fairly close, Braves and Padres. And so on that note, I like the Padres a lot more because Dinelson Lamet has just been horrific playing in Coors. And so the Padres are definitely my top one over there. On DraftKings, where we're seeing even a little bit more ownership to Atlanta today, I think my favorite tournament team is going to be the Dodgers. I absolutely love the Dodgers today. I think Muncy is not only going to hit a home run, I think he's going to hit two. I think the Blue Jays and the Rays are interesting for tournaments as well. Anytime a team faces Oakland, they're interesting for tournaments, but JP Sears is the one guy in that lineup. In that pitching order, I don't really mind. And so they're not going to be a top target for me, but I like Baltimore. I like the Dodgers. And then I like Toronto and Tampa Bay a little bit too.
And Tim, you got any other offenses you might be targeting? What's the single entry offense? What are you rolling out for that?
Yes. So in terms of ownership, Atlanta is going to be super, super chalky. I'm going to be pivoting to Toronto. Varland's been giving up a lot of hard contact to right-handed hitters. So I'm going to take a shot on Toronto just to get different. There's obviously the Dodgers, there's Atlanta, and then Baltimore is a team that I want to get to for some value. There's Gunnar Henderson, there's Urias, there's Ryan O'Hearn. Ryan O'Hearn, I mean, he's got some pinch hit risk, but it's only 25% according to the bat, which isn't horrible. So, I mean, I'm not talking about for cash games. I'm just talking about for GPPs. I really like, some of those cheap Baltimore bats that you can fill in with any of these teams. Like you could fill them in with Atlanta, with LA, Toronto. Obviously, FanDuel, it's a completely different story because San Diego's sitting there, right? And they're going to be super, super chalky. They are kind of hard to fit, though, which they should be. But I think that, if you're playing cash games, you should try to get at least 2 or 3 of them in your cash build. But they're going to be super, super owned. So kind of like in single entries, I don't really necessarily like to just play just the chalk because I want to finish in the top, 1%. And so it's going to be a tough path to, stack San Diego and win a single entry GPP. So it's kind of depends on the format that you're playing. Toronto is my favorite stack on both sites for single entry GPP.
I saw someone mention the weather. So mentioned Colorado. Roth has it orange yellow, and games in Colorado pretty much always play. They, it'll clear out here and there. He's expecting a delay. I'm not really too concerned about it at this point. So games in Colorado have a very, 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 very long history of pretty much always playing. I'm going to be going ahead and playing players in that game. And I like the Baltimore-Kansas City game. I'm on some Royals today because it's like 90 with the winds blowing out today in Baltimore. Yep. That's a really good hitting environment. So make sure to check that out. The Kansas City bats, the Baltimore lineup is a little weak today, but because of that, there are some cheaper pieces there. And you also have some very cheap pieces from Kansas City that can fit into just about any team you're looking to make today, especially if you're spending up on pitching. So that is a game I'm targeting. TJ, before we get into position by position, we want 40 likes for Spidey Bomb number 1. There's a lot more people watching this. I think we got to bump up. We're at 56. What do we need to get to?
I need 100. I need 100 likes. Or you know what? Let's do a little discount. Give me maybe 80 likes for your second Spidey Bomb and 100 for a third.
All right. So click the like button. We'll get some more Spidey Bombs. If they're more De La Cruz at plus 600 on FanDuel, I will be following you in on those. So let's go position by position. Catcher. I don't know. I'm not actively targeting a catcher. You've got Contreras, Milwaukee. What is he? 2,900 on FanDuel. I think he's a pretty interesting play overall. You've got Alvarez for the Mets hitting second. It is against Keller if you're on DraftKings, but if you're spending up on Gausman on DraftKings, you have to make some concessions in your lineup today. You can't just get all $4,500, $5,000 players across your team today. So he's looking pretty good for me over on DraftKings. Tim, what are your thoughts about those two players and anyone else you're looking at?
Yeah, I really like those two guys. I think for cash games, it's Alejandro Kirk batting 7th for 2,600. That's who I would go with. I've already talked about how much I really like Toronto. I usually like to punt catcher in cash games. I'm also punting catcher in my single entry team today. So Kirk's my guy today in both my single entry team and my cash game team. Just because,
I won't fault you. You have to make concessions if you're playing Gausman on DraftKings today without question.
Yeah.
TJ, you got anyone looking to hit a home run today?
Yeah, Kirk, I agree. I think is probably the top play at this position just because he's so darn cheap. I don't hate going to Francisco Alvarez at $3,600 either. If you can afford to pay up, Will Smith is going to be my favorite. William Contreras, probably number 2, followed by Murphy. But going all the way down to Alejandro Kirk, I agree, is probably the play here as well.
Yeah, I also just wanted to mention real quick MJ Melendez on FanDuel at 2,700. Brett was talking about how great Kansas City was. I really like him as like a salary saving option, and I don't think a lot of people are going to be playing him at the catcher position on FanDuel.
I got him in the outfield on my cash team on FanDuel.
Yeah,
that makes sense for. So I needed some salary savers. So he's definitely in the option for me on FanDuel. 78 likes, a couple more likes. TJ, get Spidey Bomb 2 ready. We'll get to that in just a minute. Let's go to first base. A couple ways you can spend. I think any of the guys of Vlad and Olsen are pretty good today, but I don't know. I don't have that type of money, right? So on FanDuel, I already mentioned I like Contreras quite a bit today at that first base catcher spot on FanDuel. He's someone I'm looking to roster. You've got Josh Naylor in the game that's been moved up with a splits advantage today, 3,400. That's a nice price concession. You're going to have a couple 3,000-ish 20, that's why Tim liked Kirk at catcher. You're going to have 3 or 4 of these guys below 3,500 on your DraftKings team if you're going to try to play Gausman. So Naylor's someone I like, and not only that, I think it's a really good spot for him today. So he's someone I like taking an option on, at least on DraftKings, Tim.
Yeah, Naylor. Sorry, Tim.
Naylor's fine. I think Connor Joe might be an interesting pivot also at the same exact price tag. Nick Prado, I think, is another salary saving option that you could get to. See, I think I'm not disagreeing with Brett, but I think that for me, this is a pay up position in cash, but totally, you could totally punt it also.
I'm playing Ronald Acuna, so I'm out of cash.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, it's very difficult. I'd really like to get to Vlad. I'd like to think that eventually he's going to hit a home run at home, but that's who I'd like to play. But if you can't play him, then I guess Naylor would be fine. Or I like Nick Prado also.
Yep, I like both of those. Prado, I think, might be on my outfield on both sites. I'd have to double check on that. But enough. We've got 81 likes, TJ. That means Spidey Bomb number 2. Anything De La Cruz at plus 600? It's going to be pretty hard to top that.
All right, well, let's see if we can do it. Spidey Bomb number 2 today. We are going over to the Toronto Blue Jays. And on the Caesar Sportsbook, you can bet Bo Bichette for plus 525 to hit a home run today. Bo's been one of the best hitters in the American League this year. Bo Bichette plus 525. Spidey Bomb number 2.
All right. Oh, let's see. 575. So did you say 525?
What? 575. I might have said 25, but it does say 75. So
yeah,
that was
so
just
he's
misspeak.
plus 5. Oh, you're low. Okay, of course. This is why you use the Fanduel app, because the Caesars app closes on you 5 million times. And then it still doesn't let you get your bet in, but the 575 on that looks pretty good for Bo Bichette like that. And then at first base, TJ, what are you looking at from a tournament perspective?
Yeah, so it's like you guys mentioned, like Olsen, Freeman, Guerrero, all these guys are fantastic. If I'm picking one of those, I would probably go Guerrero just because he's a little bit cheaper than the other guys there. But having said that, Josh Naylor is a cheapie that I really like here as well. On FanDuel, I would just find that extra $400 to go up to, if it's not a stack, I would just find that extra $400 to go up to Vladdy as opposed to Naylor. But where he's a lot cheaper on DraftKings, I think that makes sense. I like the Connor Joe pivot that Tim talked about. Even Josh Bell as a pivot, or Nick Prado leading off, I think are somewhat interesting plays here as well.
All right, second base. I want to split this into DraftKings, FanDuel, because FanDuel we have Coors. So Cronenworth, if you want to get a piece of the Coors game, I think is a reasonable play on FanDuel. You've got Ozzy Albies there at 3,200 if you're in the mid tier. And if you need some price savings, I think Jimenez hitting 5th is a reasonable play as well. Don't really have the money to spend up on anything more than that on second base today, Tim. And on DraftKings, I mean, it's just, I've made it clear I'm playing Acuna, so I have to go dumpster diving. You've got a couple plays you could try to make. You've got Bay for Pittsburgh. He's 2,900. You can go all the way to Massey hitting, what is he? He's hitting 5th for 2,300. Just as basically punts in reasonably good spots today, because Acuna is going to get me 25 fantasy points. That's at least how I'm looking at it today, Tim.
Yeah, or Miguel Vargas, I would think.
Yep, Vargas is another great one.
3,300. But I do think that this is a position, like we so often say at second base. I mean, you want to play Mookie Betts, but I just really don't think you can today in cash games. So it's like I think this is a position where I want to save as much money as I can, because I want to pay up, for premium guys in the outfield or at first base. So this is going to be a punt position for me. I really wanted to, Cleveland not having J-Ram in the lineup really ruined that for me. He was 4,900 on DraftKings, and he was going to be a cash game play for me. And without him in that lineup, it's just like it really hurts. It just kills that lineup. And but I mean, Jimenez is still fine for cash. He's 3,600 on DK. He's like 2,600 on FanDuel, so I think he'd be worth a shot there also.
And then TJ, tournaments at second base.
At second today, on DraftKings, it's Mookie Betts for me is my favorite option. I like that as my place to spend all the way up. If I need to go cheaper, I like Vargas in that same lineup. Jimenez is fine. But I definitely prefer Vargas over Jimenez if I'm choosing one of the two. Outside of that, it's mostly just going to be a position that I'm stacking today. Like if you want to one-off with somebody like a Brendan Donovan at nice and cheap, I think that's fine. You want to play Owen Miller against Sears, I think that's fine. Obviously on FanDuel, you have Cronenworth there as well. You got Ryan McMahon. Both of them are strong plays. Having said that, like I think these Dodgers guys are going to be my favorite here, either going up to Betts or down to Vargas.
Let's go to third base. The play of the day on both sites is probably going to be Gunnar Henderson leading off. Hard not to play him in the 90-degree weather. The wind's blowing out today. The leadoff spot, everything's going for him. Bad pitching for Kansas City is about as good as it gets for him.
100%. I agree with that on DraftKings. Do we want to find the extra money to play like Manny Machado on FanDuel, like that's the only kind of thing. But then of course we can just play Gunnar at short. So
yeah, so you got Riley and a couple other guys you can throw in too.
Right. Like in some capacity you should be playing Gunnar on cash games on both sites. I probably would be playing him at short on FanDuel because there are these other cheap third basemen that I'd also like to play, like Riley or Machado. But yeah, Henderson is clearly cash game viable on both sites.
And then TJ, if everyone's on Gunner, we've got guys like Riley. You mentioned Max Muncy. This is a position where you want players with upside because one of Muncy, Riley, Henderson, Cruz. I mean, there's a lot of power, home run, lots of upside here at this position.
Yeah, I think Machado definitely takes the cake over on FanDuel, which then makes Muncy and Gunnar Henderson actually very good tournament plays. Obviously, you can play Henderson over at shortstop over there as well. I really like Matt Chapman in tournaments. I think he's a very strong play. Brian Anderson, I think, is somewhat interesting. And then, of course, Ellie De La Cruz, who you can play on both sides. Even Jake Berger at 3,800, I think is somewhat interesting today.
All right, let's go to shortstop. We already mentioned Henderson over on FanDuel at shortstop. On DraftKings, you can take your pick of a couple of guys. Tim, who are some of your targets at the position?
Yeah, so real quick, just on FanDuel, I think a great pivot at shortstop would be Trey Turner, just because they're the exact same price, and I think everyone's going to be kind of going right after Gunner. So I think if you want to do like a contrarian pivot, I think Trey Turner is going to be lower owned than he should be. On DraftKings, I think Willie Adames is a very, very, very affordable price at 4,400.
Mm-hmm.
Marcano is like your punt for like 2,500. Like Britt said at the beginning of the show, you have to play some people if you're going to play Gausman today. You have to punt a couple positions. So it's not like any of these shortstops are like absolute smash. My favorite for single entry would be Bo Bichette. But if I'm looking to do some savings and cash games, I might have to play Marcano. And then I think you got like Rosario also would be an interesting play at 3,400.
And then TJ, you got any one that could possibly hit a home run? We're at 90 likes too, so 10 more likes, we'll get Spidey Bomb number 3. Let's see if we can get that done by the time TJ is talking about shortstop.
Yeah, I hope so, because the third Spidey Bomb also actually is at this position. So let's keep hammering that like button. On FanDuel, where you got that Trey Turner at 3K, I think that makes for a very, very strong play today, especially because he's coming in sub 10%. I think that's a really strong salary saver over there. Obviously, you have Tatis up top when you're able to get to him. I think that would probably be my priority spend up on FanDuel. And then over on DraftKings, I love Bo Bichette. Wander Franco, I think, makes for a very interesting tournament play, but he's tough to get up to as well. I like De La Cruz. I like Matt McClain. And then if I need to go cheap, I guess like all the way down to Marcano is or from like that spot that we were talking about before as like a potentially decent way to do it. But there's some okay options, I think, here at shortstop on DraftKings if you decide to do it over here. Somebody like an Ezekiel Duran, even Miguel Rojas, if you're stacking up the Dodgers. I don't like it, but it's like we talked about, we need to save some salary today. Bichette, I think, is going to be my favorite one for tournaments. And then we're 5 likes away from the third Spidey Bomb. I know people are going to be hammering that right now, so let's get those 5 more likes. Britt, this is the most broken bet of the day. This isn't a play that we can play in DFS on DraftKings, but in Coors Field, Xander Bogaerts is plus 900 on Caesars.
What?
900. Xander Bogaerts in Coors Field.
I know he's having a bad season, but that doesn't make a lot of sense.
That is maybe the best odds for a home run this season. If for a player of his caliber in Coors Field, plus 900, that is Spidey Bomb number 3.
All right, I'm betting, even though it's a plus 900, I'm going to bet more on that one because those odds seem way off on what I would be willing to pay. I would assume I haven't looked on what it is on FanDuel, but that's got to be
450 on FanDuel.
Yeah, that seems more in line with what my expectations were. So the plus 900, I know it's a long shot, but I went in a little bit heavier than I normally do for a home run prop because that just seems very, very good. All right, outfield, Tim. So I cannot get I can't get to Acuna on FanDuel with Gausman. I haven't been able to do it. So I am I'm looking at, I've got the Royals, Prado, Melendez, basically anyone that's cheap, like under 2,800 and hitting near the top of the order today. So Melendez, Varsho, Prado. If you need an ultimate salary receiver, you've got Frazier for the White Sox. He's leading off today and he's 2,200. These guys all fit the value, especially if you want to play a Machado or a Cronenworth as maybe your one or two spend up-ish players on FanDuel. I'm going cheap. On DraftKings, I've got Acuna, which means I've basically got to go back to those same guys on DraftKings in order to get my salary in there because I'm on Acuna on DraftKings without question today.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what year this is, but I think that you should be playing Clint Frazier in cash games. I mean, it's just
I moved him in during the show onto my team. So
right, yeah. I mean, what he allows you to do is, is worth it. I don't have a lot of faith in him, but he's been praised, so I say we go with it. He allows you to get to the Tatises on FanDuel or the Acuñas on DraftKings. So he's kind of the guy today. I don't know.
I have won a GPP before with Quentin Frazier in my lineup.
Hey, I mean, it's possible. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm with Britt. I love MJ Melendez today. I think he was my sneaky home run call or favorite tournament value on Expert Survey today. Dalton Varsho is reasonably priced on both sites. I've talked about how much I like Toronto today. So I think he makes for a great play. I think you can play him in cash games if you're at that price point. So those are some value options, and then obviously you've got the high end guys. Like, I mean, you got to play Tatis in cash on FanDuel, and you got to play Acuna, I think, in cash on DraftKings.
Yeah, how are you getting, if you play Tatis, right? Then you're not playing a Machado. You basically get one. You either get two like mid tiers or one spend up. So would you rather play like Machado and one other mid-tier 3,000 bat, or just basically forego those to get a Tatis onto your team?
I think it's Tatis.
All right. Outfield TJ. So FanDuel, right? We've got Tatis out there. What do you think of him? What are some other plays? I think the value plays will be pretty popular, especially on the Gaussman teams. Do you have like a sleeper value player, not the top 4 or 5, or like the 6th or 8th best value player that's just going to be much lower owned than the Varshos, the Royals, Frazier, etc.?
Joey Wiemer is probably my favorite one at 2,700. Like I brought up liking Sears today, but Wiemer in that 2 spots is a little bit too good to pass up for me. I wish that was something I actually saw a little bit earlier when I was building up my parlay today. I would have made sure to include Wiemer in it if I saw that he was batting second. But that would probably be my favorite one. Corey Jelks going up against Bieber, but he's batting second. That is another one I absolutely love for tournaments today. Yeah, Shane Bieber's good, but Corey Jelks is a guy that's been hitting 8-9 all year, and we've been considering playing him at that price. And at $2,800 batting second, that's something I'm very interested in. He let us down yesterday, but I think you can go back to Seth Brown if you're not playing Peralta in your lineup. All of these Oakland outfielders I think are interesting. And then David Peralta is another guy that I really like there.
All right, let's see. I'm looking through Discord for some questions. Get them in there for premium members. Get them into YouTube. We'll get those to close out the show. Let's see here. We went over the weather in Colorado quickly. Roth has it orange-yellow. I'm basically of the opinion, unless I see Roth give a big update on that, Coors games pretty much always tend to play up in the altitude out there. They seem to always get the games in. So
and we're not worried about in-game delay there because we're not worried about pitching.
So I'm fine with all the bats there. Let's see here. NBA DFS wants to know Machado. This is one I was looking at. Machado and Cronenworth or Urias and Tatis, and I'm on Machado and Cronenworth because I want more pieces. But Cronenworth's not having that great of a year. Urias has a decent lineup spot today, and you get Tatis, who's having an amazing year. How do you handle that one?
See, I like the Tatis side, but I mean they're both good. I'm not saying that you're bad or making a mistake, but I like
you're bad.
Yeah,
I agree. These are probably the two. These are the two spots in my opinion that the two options you could go to. Because if you're playing, you probably have some sort of utility going on in that one. Would you play? Well, Urias and Cronenworth are probably the swap, so you probably couldn't get off Clint Frazier on that. You probably already have Clint Frazier on that team on FanDuel.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think those are probably two of the good options you'd be choosing from today. Razzle Dazzles. What happened to Keller last game? I mean, total letdown. Just a bad game. He was having a great season leading up to it. I haven't seen anything that says, hey, there was a problem. He's going up against the Mets today. Nobody really wants to use him. He's just too high priced when you have some of these other guys out there today, to me. But TJ, more from the tournament perspective, you said you don't mind them, but not in your top 3 lineups, your top 5 lineups. You got to dig a little deeper than that.
Yeah, correct. 100%. That'd be somebody that I'd be looking to include in if I was building a bunch of lineups today. I would want to be making sure I have him in a few of them, but even in my first 3 to 5, he wouldn't be making the cut.
In our sims, we have Keller as having a 2% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. So it's like, or a top 0.1% pitcher. So
I don't think that's right.
It's also like that's probably looking back at a lot of his like past stats as opposed to this season's.
Yeah. The Mets don't strike. There's a lot of things that go into that, but I'm of the opinion that if you're a super high strikeout pitcher, you can mow down anybody at any given time. I don't care how, unless there's like 9 Luis Arez's in the lineup, you're going to have the ability to strike out plenty of players if you're a Mitch Keller. All right, let's see here. Discord, or not to Discord. Let's see. I'm on YouTube. Soto, we didn't really talk about him, right? So he's got the splits advantage today. The problem is if you play Soto, you're not playing Tatis, and I'm playing Tatis over Soto, given that opinion, and I think that's yours as well, Tim, right?
Yeah, that's my opinion. But I mean, of course, you can pivot to Soto in tournaments for sure.
Let's see here. A couple people making NASCAR. Anyone on Bieber? Not really on Bieber. I bet the under on Bieber 4.5 strikeouts, so that's pretty much going to take me away from using him in DFS today. TJ, do you have any opinions on Bieber?
No, I'm not using Bieber at all today.
Yeah, I would avoid him. TJ, real quick, give me the Spidey bombs. My money line bet, if you were looking for a bet today, is the Reds. I really like them to win this game today. And then TJ, your Spidey bombs for the people real quick.
Spidey bombs were Xander Bogaerts, Bo Bichette, and Ellie Dela Cruz. All of them over plus 500. We had plus 600 for Dela Cruz, 575 for Bichette, 900 for Xander Bogaerts. I also put some parlays in today, including with the Spidey bombs. I put some more parlays, including Muncy, Mike Trout, Matt Olson, Ronald Acuna. I put over in the Baltimore and Kansas City game, and I did over 9 strikeouts for Kevin Gausman as well in there. And so those are kind of the parlays that I've been putting together today.
All right. Beaner from our Discord wants to know FanDuel GPP pitcher. So you've got Gausman. I know TJ and I think everyone's really high on Gausman. Would he be your tournament pitcher, or is there someone else you might want to go to save some money to be able to get all the other bats that you might want today, TJ?
No, Gausman is my guy. Single entry, and I'm on DraftKings where we got to play 2. I'm probably going to play him in 100% of lineups.
All right. ProShares wants to know 1 entry into the 15 on DraftKings. Gausman and Sears or Keller and Green? Let's go single entry man Tim today. Let's see what he thinks about that one.
It was Keller and Green, and who else, Britt? I'm sorry.
Gausman and Sears.
I guess let's go Keller Green.
Yeah, Keller Green, you can play some chalky bats with that one without question. I think that's like an ultra sneaky tournament option today, if you ask me.
I think Gausman Sears is my favorite pairing for what it's worth on DraftKings.
Yeah, I think they're both very legitimate options today. I think I've talked, well, I didn't talk myself into Sears. If I was playing tournaments, TJ sort of talked me into them. I think that does make a lot of sense to pair with Gausman, and then that gets you some of the bats that you might want to use today.
Like I'm going to play Sears or a couple Milwaukee bats. I don't know which one yet. I'm fading that first game and then building my lineup when we're done. But I'm going to play Sears or like the Weimers and a couple other guys who are in good spots today and cheap.
Frazier, $1,100 for a bomb today. Anyone like Adam Frazier to hit the home run?
Not.
No. Plus 1,100.
I like the stack. I don't know about the home run odds, but
Yeah,
I like him as a DFS.
Adam Frazier, not someone I'm usually targeting
Right.
for home run power. Let me see really quick on the season. He's got 7.
He's got 7, yeah.
Which is weird because he probably had what, 7 all of last year?
Yeah. You know, at a plus 1,100, I think that I could do that. If he's
pretty good. It's a pretty good spot.
Yeah, I could definitely get behind that one at plus 1,100. In fact, I'm gonna see if I can go find that really quick before some of these other games start today. A couple. Whoa, there are lots of questions on YouTube just came in here. Let's see. McClanahan versus Texas. That's a no. Texas is. These are two teams you don't really want to take pictures against, if you ask me. So I don't care how good McClanahan is. We saw it with Evaldi against the Rays, right? These really good pitchers against these really good offenses. It's a little too risky, in my opinion, especially on this big of a slate, right? We didn't even talk McClanahan.
Yeah, he'd be in my. He's in my pool. Again, not a guy I'd be getting to in a single entry type setting, but I do think he's just a little bit too good to fade completely if you're playing lots of lineups. And so, yes, he is there, but he definitely falls like so much far behind Gaussman.
Someone asked about the Braves game safe. I got the weather report from Roth pulled up. He's got it as yellow-green. I am not concerned at all based on Roth's yellow. I have to see an orange to start or a game in Washington that's yellow for me to be concerned. Nets Coors, so the Coors factor is overriding the orange for me. I'm not really concerned about rain in any game right now. That could change, right? If Roth issues a couple of tweets, my opinion can be swayed. But currently, the board looks pretty playable to me. Not concerned about weather. Looks like YouTube's taken care of. We've hit lineup lock. We can answer a couple more questions because it's just the one game right now. DraftKings cash, De La Goat or Adames, if you got to pick one today. I love the Reds, but I'm going to take Adames if I'm choosing between those. But that could easily be the wrong decision. Adam Wainwright is horrible.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I'm playing Adames, but I could easily be proven wrong on that one today, based on my love for the Reds. Let's see here. Any other questions? Looks like Discord's pretty solid. It looks like YouTube's pretty good. Anyone in the A's? So Shannon Lambert wants to know. This is probably more of a DraftKings question because I think on FanDuel you're just going to go up to Gaussman. The A's, right? Sneaky stack today. We were on them yesterday. Today we're all off of them. No one's really playing them against Peralta. Is this like a 1% owned stack? Probably less than that can beat one of the higher owned pitchers of the day, specifically on DraftKings, TJ?
I like it as a mini stack. I don't think I'd be wanting to full stack this team today, but as a mini stack, yeah, fire up Oakland. Like, play some Seth Brown, play some Ramon Laureano, play those guys together, add one more of your mini stack, and I like it.
Let's see here. Tim, you got any final thoughts on the slate? Anything you change anything on the teams you were making as the show sort of progressed?
No, I'm heavy on Toronto for my single entry GPP team on both sites, so I'm sticking with that. If they do well, I'm hoping that some of the other chalky teams bust.
All right, TJ, I think that's about all. We got one, the Pirates stack. I know the Bat really did like some of the Pirates today. From a tournament perspective, do you think the Pirates could get there against Carrasco? I mean, Carrasco could certainly get blown up at any time.
Yeah, I do think they could get there, but they're not near the top of my list for me.
A couple more questions on YouTube. The Houston game that started right now, right? That was the start of the slate at the 12:40 game. So the Houston, there was some rain going to be possibly conflicting with it later in the game. So they made the smart decision to move the game up, I believe, an hour, which sort of caused some confusion and why the show is a little earlier today because we had to kind of move when the slates move. That's our job, to move whenever baseball and the fantasy sites do everything like that. Suresh wants to know Bichette, Soler, or wait, let's see here. Oh, this is a tiers play. Bichette, Soler, Goldie, or Arenado in tiers today. I think your boy Bo Bichette's looking pretty good to me on that one, TJ.
Yeah, Bichette, Goldie, or Soler. I would like. Those
It's
are all good
Goldie or
options.
Bichette for me, without question.
Yeah, I like Bichette there. That would be my favorite.
I'd probably go Bo.
All right. Yeah, I think we were all going to take Bo Bichette on that one. All right. That's going to do it. Just make sure we don't have any more Discord. All right. We've got a couple more Discord questions. We'll get to those real quick. Giolito, single entry on FanDuel. Not a guy we really talked about too much, but more of a tournament play for me. I think he's certainly viable. He would be in my player pool. TJ, can you throw him in a single entry?
No, I wouldn't be playing Giolito.
All right. I don't think I would. Tim, would he make the cut for you on FanDuel? That's a little too close for me today.
No,
More of a DraftKings play.
Yeah, I'd pass on him on FanDuel.
All right. And then if we're stacking Gaussman, let's pretend we're on FanDuel, TJ. What's our favorite bat stack to put with them? Realistic. I mean, you can't stack San Diego with Gaussman very easily on FanDuel today.
So my favorite way to do it actually would be Atlanta with the back half of their lineup. That's the lineup I'm just putting together on DraftKings right now as well. Roll some Rosario, Michael Harris, Orlando Arcia, Marcelo Ozuna. That's my favorite stack to run with Kevin Gaussman today. And then if I am trying to do something a little bit different outside of Atlanta, I would probably do the same thing, but with the Dodgers. Play Peralta, Hayward, Vargas, and pay up for one of those guys, like Muncy with them.
All right. I think we're going to call the show. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. A little bit earlier than usual. We'll go get the Spidey bombs. TJ, Tim, it's been fun. I'm Britt. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we out you.